Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's a long process. It's a hard, thought out process. Yeah, I know. I was there. I was there from March of this year, thinking about how I'm going to do this, doing all my research, trying to get everything right. What platforms can we use and how we going to record it and how we going to make it sound good and make it all this happen. And then I came upon Anchor. The Anchor app on my phone, the easiest choice I could ever make to do a podcast. It's free to use. You don't got to pay for nothing. You can record episodes whenever you're ready. You can edit it and then you can release them when you want to. And you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you're going to distribute it on other platforms because Anchor has partnerships with Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, whatever you name it. Because the Playmakers Bar podcast is the podcast that I use. We're on all them platforms. We're on 9 platforms just by using the Anchor app. So pretty much all the questions that you have questions about doing a podcast, go to the Anchor app or go to the Anchor website, anchor.fm.com, and just search through it, ask questions. Because I tell you, a free app that does all this, there's nothing more you can ask for. I even got friends, they doing their podcast on the Anchor app. Faith Talk, you might have heard of it because it's very good. And it's great that it's an app like this, it's a website like this that makes it easier for people to do podcasts and do what they love best, talking about the things that they love to talk about. So give Anchor a try, see how much you like it. We'll love to hear your podcast.
Okay, guys, back again. Another week. Playmakers Block Podcast Football Edition with Dallas Glenn, talking off-season stuff. We said we were going to at least get you through the NFL draft, which means that weeks like this, slow weeks, in-between weeks, no news weeks, gotta figure out something to do. Gotta figure out something to talk about. And while there may not be a lot of news going on, there's still transactions. There's still rejections of offers. There's still trends that can be discussed. And the overall trend I want to focus on this particular episode is the fact that we have guys like Dakota Prescott who have not won a Super Bowl, who didn't get to the playoffs in their contract year, who have the best running back in football, multiple Hall of Fame caliber offensive linemen protecting them, Hall of Fame tight end that came back, elite wide receiver that the owner traded a number 1 pick for, top defensive end on the other side. Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, who was not being asked to carry a franchise. Dak Prescott, who was not wanting for anything except for more than $33 million a year. Ladies and gentlemen, there are smoke screens and thoughts that maybe the Redskins should take Tua instead of taking Chase Young. When both sides of the ball are terrible, and when the previous regime that got fired and completely X'd out didn't believe in the quarterback that was taken first round, now you got a new regime, the owner's 100% behind the quarterback, Ron Rivera seems to be at least 90% behind the quarterback, you still got Alex Smith and the money he's due on the books. Ladies and gentlemen, quarterback, the quarterback market, quarterback money, quarterback speaking out against a potential CBA that can help a bunch of third-string linebackers and stuff. Quarterbacks, all the endorsements, all the stickers, all the banners, all the video game covers, quarterbacks. $30+ million a year, quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo. Can't trust him to throw the ball in the playoffs when the time comes, but they're making $27.5 and $28 million. Quarterbacks. Derek Carr made 25. Quarterbacks. At Stafford, he's up there. What have the Detroit Lions done? Quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, taken number 1 overall, wins Rookie of the Year after only winning 5 games, pretty much won Rookie of the Year because he started all 16 at quarterback. But Gardner Minshew, who wasn't even in the final tally for Rookie of the Year, won 6 games with a roster Nick Foles couldn't win a single game with. Quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, under the current CBA, since it hasn't changed yet, his fifth-year option, being the number one overall pick, is going to be asinine and ridiculous. Quarterbacks, Gardner Minshew, that same quarterback, going to make less than $1 million every single year, except for the fourth one, I believe, if he even makes it that particular year, because he's a sixth-round pick. And Dak Prescott was a fourth-round pick, and they're saying he only made $2 million last year. Quarterbacks. How do you handle the situation that is going on right now in the NFL when it comes to the fact that if you have a decent starter, if you have a guy that is capable of throwing an NFL football to NFL targets, handing off NFL footballs to NFL rushers to a decent clip. Nobody, elite level quarterbacks only complete their passes 62 to 64% of the time. That's a D. Go into any other field, and if your success rate is a D and you're considered elite, a lot of people are going to want that job. Now, granted, hitting a baseball is probably the hardest thing you could ever do. That's why an F, a solid F, a mega F, a 27% to 32% clip gets you in the Hall of Fame in this era, as long as you didn't take steroids. But focusing on quarterback, 64% completion percentage. You're up there, super up there. 4,000 yards in this era of quarterbacking is nothing, because the game has been legislated to be a game of backyard football. So you got 64% completion percentage, 4,000 plus yards, and let's just be modest and throw in 22 touchdowns. You have a quarterback that has 64% completion percentage, 4,000 plus yards, and 22 plus touchdowns. In this era of football, that guy's going to be up there. That guy's going to be top 10. So how do you differentiate between the guys who are quote unquote producing and the guys who are actually going to win you a Super Bowl? See, the issue with the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals is the Tennessee Titans traded for Ryan Tannehill as a backup plan for Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota doesn't have sexy numbers. Marcus Mariota doesn't look sexy when he's on the field. But Marcus Mariota has been to the playoffs 2 times. Marcus Mariota has led the Tennessee Titans to winning records 2 times. Marcus Mariota got benched for Ryan Tannehill, who was only a franchise quarterback for the Miami Dolphins and went 500 a bunch of times. Went to the playoffs once, but I think he got hurt that game. Either way, the Tennessee Titans traded for a former franchise quarterback as a contingency plan to their current franchise quarterback. And what happens? Ryan Tannehill, who's supposed to be done, Ryan Tannehill, who's supposed to be an average starting caliber quarterback, goes to the AFC Championship game. And even though Derrick Henry had that crazy playoff run, who are people talking about right now? We forget Derrick Henry is actually due to make some money this year. But nobody's talking about Derrick Henry. People are barely talking about Ryan Tannehill, but they're talking about Ryan Tannehill getting paid by somebody more than they're talking about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's on the Tennessee Titans, and you put Ryan Fitzpatrick or any starter who's not going to have an ego and knows to hand off the ball, the Tennessee Titans probably get back to where they were. Even if the Jaguars, the Vikings, and the Bears are an example of how not to build a football team, Derrick Henry isn't exactly a 2020s back. If you're going to build a team from the 1940s, you need a back from the 1940s like Derrick Henry. But that's not necessarily the point. The point is Ryan Tannehill is about to command at least $17 million per year. Ryan Tannehill is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He should be starting for one of the 32 teams, because chances are you're not going to find a quarterback in the draft and you're not going to find a quarterback in free agency that is better than Ryan Tannehill. You're probably not. For whatever reason, no matter who the offensive coordinator is, for whatever reason, no matter who the head coach is, the Tennessee Titans offense always relies on running the ball 35 plus times a game and throwing it deep off play action. They've had Matt LaFleur, who went to the NFC Championship game. They're working with Arthur Smith right now, I believe. But before all that, Mike Mularkey said they're going to go exotic smash mouth, and everybody laughed at him. But they've been going smash mouth ever since. You're not going to pay Derrick Henry. You may pay Ryan Tannehill at least $17 million. But the overall question is, if you're an NFL team and you look at the Dak Prescott situation, if you're an NFL team and you look at the Tom Brady situation, if you're an NFL team and you look at the New Orleans Saints and how Sean Payton played chicken for a couple weeks, and now how they're about to let Teddy Bridgewater, who was the franchise quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, they're about to let Teddy Bridgewater, in his physical prime, in his youth, walk away because Drew Brees wants to run it back one more time. They put a first-round tender on Taysom Hill to back up Drew Brees. If Drew Brees at his age catches up to him in the middle of the season, Taysom Hill is going to be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. And here's the thing, Taysom Hill right now is not a starting quarterback. He's a backup quarterback. You need 4 games max, and then somebody else has to come back or get signed. Dak Prescott can't get paid $35 plus million. I'm not just saying that as a Jaguars fan that does not trust the Jaguars to pay Gardner Minshew $40 million by the time his contract comes up. Because remember, folks, Mahomes has to get paid too. And if Dak Prescott gets paid before Mahomes, oh God, you can kiss team loyalty. All you guys down there in the comment section that wear the shades and the baseball caps facing forward, and you guys can just cry till the cows come home. Because if Dak Prescott gets $35 million, what is Mahomes going to get? If Dak Prescott gets $35 million, Mahomes might be the first franchise quarterback in free agency to be due for the team he won a Super Bowl for, and it just be wraps, kaput. I can't remember somebody winning a Super Bowl on their rookie contract being due soon, and the team saying, But if Dak Prescott gets $35 million, I mean, people pay a lot of money just to get one. The Chiefs have one. They got to host the AFC Championship game. They got to go down to Miami and beat a legacy franchise like the 49ers. Comeback victory, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the first commercial break. But we're going to talk about this because Dak Prescott may be a franchise quarterback. I would be willing to concede that Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. And I would be willing to concede that because Dak Prescott may be a franchise quarterback, you either need to tag him and eat the tag rate, or you need to pay him like a franchise quarterback. But the problem is $35 million, more than Russell Wilson, more than probably what Mahomes' agent is trying to toss out there. Hell, I despise them. I despise the fact that they got the money they did. But Carson Wentz, the year he went down, was an MVP candidate. And I believe that's the year they won the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz got that train rolling. And Nick Foles bought the caboose in. Jared Goff got paid the year after he went to a Super Bowl. Now, granted, if he had just thrown 2 touchdown passes, or handed off for 1 and threw for 1, he would have beat Tom Brady. But, he only got 3 points. And that's why the debate on Jared Goff will always go. But, dude, think about what this is going to mean. Think about some of the players who have been the most against the new CBA. And while we're doing this commercial break, while we're, paying these bills and all that good stuff, marinate, once again, Pay attention. I'm saying it again because this is what I really want you to think about. Because I threw a lot at you in this first couple minutes. But think about this. The quarterbacks have been some of the most vocal people against this proposed CBA. We'll be right back. It's the Playmakers Blog Podcast, Football Edition. Talking off-season stuff.
Hey, this is Donnie, the Playmaker Says. I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for listening to us at the Playmakers Podcast. Just to let you know, if you're listening to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, why don't you go ahead and leave us a review. Tell us what you think of the episodes that you listen to, what you think of the podcast in general. If you listen to, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Castbox, or any other platforms that we're on, follow us. Download the episodes, let us know any kind of way that you want to let us know, whether it's on our Facebook page, the Playmakers Blog Podcast, or on our Twitter page at Playmakers Stuff. Just let us know, because we enjoy interacting with you guys and we want to show our appreciation. So follow us, like us, let us know how we're doing, and thank you for listening to the Playmakers Blog Podcast.
All right, ladies and germs, we're back. Guys, why is the position, Playmakers Blog Podcast, Football Edition, all that good stuff, why is the position where Derek Carr is making well over $20 million a year, why is the position where Matt Stafford, who hasn't won anything in over a decade, a former number 1 overall pick, has gotten multiple big money deals? Why is the position where just being decent enough to be okay? Why is the position where if you can guarantee me 7 and 9, you're automatically up there in the conversation? Why are they saying vote no against this new CBA? Why are they? I understand that quarterbacks are supposed to be the face of the franchise, like the third part of the trinity of a franchise: owner, head coach, franchise quarterback. That's how it's supposed to be. Franchise quarterbacks like the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is God, but if you try to explain it to somebody, how do you exactly explain the Holy Spirit? And how do you actually explain the fact of because Jesus and God, and this is important, it's like the head coach can cut the quarterback at any time. The owner can fire the head coach at any time if he cuts the quarterback. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on before you get to the quarterback. And when you really look at what the quarterback actually runs and what their function is, you start to realize, damn, so you're really just there to get paid more than everybody else on the team and get all the credit and MVP adulation if the team is winning. Now, granted, quarterbacks get a lot of the blame, almost all the blame, when a team loses. But I still see Carson Wentz apologists. I still see Nick Foles apologists. For as bad as the Nick Foles contract is, for as hard as it will be to trade Nick Foles, there is apparently a lot of scenarios that make sense. Namely, Frank Wright and the Indianapolis Colts, who are already paying for a quarterback that they thought would get them to a decent place after the sudden retirement of Andrew Luck. Jacoby Brissett can't get cut because he's too much of a cap hit. But Jacoby Brissett is too much of a cap hit because he's not garbage. This new CBA can help a lot of players, retired and active. This new CBA is really going to help the guys who go to your church, who may coach your son or your nephew's football team, or maybe track team or basketball team. The NFL players that you see in your community where they're like, yeah, I played, and maybe they have a trading card, or maybe they pull themselves up on Google. Like, dude, every town, not even city, every town has that guy where you're like, holy crap, you played in the league? And he's like, yeah. And he pulls up his stats. And like, he has like 30 carries over 5 years. But, special teams, baby. Those are the guys that this new CBA is supposed to be able to help. Also, as the owners have hinted, these players play hardball with this current CBA. The owners are probably going to take away a bunch of provisions that they were going to let in and play hardball and get 18 games instead of 17. Now, I don't know what that would do to the preseason, but what the owners are basically saying is, we wish you would vote no. Because at the end of the day, the owners are the ones that have the money. Jim Irsay and Mark Davis are like the only ones. And I think the CEO of the Jets. Those are like the only 3 people. Because Mike Brown, I mean, as cheap as he's been, ain't no way he's hurting for football money. Ain't no way. I think even Amy Adams for the Titans, I think even she has non-football money. Regardless, the point is, even the owners that have pure football money, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Because NFL films, the NFL revenue share strategy, the vault that they all have, because you don't get rich spending your money and not saving any of it, the owners will be okay for more than a season. It's the players that can't afford to not play. Because usually players are the ones that live to their check and don't live to preserve their check. For every quarterback, because I refuse to believe that every franchise quarterback is just this great college grad who's this master business person and investor. If you have a quarterback who's making $20 million a year in the prime of his career, he's at least spending 10 of that between the agent fees, the publicists, the workout, the travel, all that good stuff, the house. Then you got to think, the DNs, the wide receivers, good God, the wide receivers. Oh, the running backs, like, dude, you can't expect NFL players, guys who are making a lot, to be really employees, to be saving as much as the owners, who are at their core business people who want to make as much money and preserve as much money as possible. But I'm saying all that to give context to this claim. I don't care. I've been saying it. I don't care what the quarterbacks have to say about this potential CBA. I don't want to hear Robert Griffin III tell long snappers and backup linebackers that this deal is going to hurt them in the long run. I'm not going to listen to a guy that was drafted number 2 overall. The franchise that drafted him number 2 overall traded the house and the home to move up to get him. The owner did everything in his power to embrace him and place him within the Trinity. Robert Griffin's ego. Robert Griffin doing an ESPN documentary right after his rookie season. Robert Griffin not developing properly. And that goes to Mike Shanahan also picking the guy that he actually wanted in the same draft. But still, the Redskins have a lot of dysfunction. But Robert Griffin and his overbearing father carry a lot of that blame as well. That being said, Robert Griffin is in the perfect situation, because Robert Griffin is backup quarterbacking the one team in the one offense that needs Robert Griffin if something catastrophic happens to Lamar Jackson. Robert Griffin has value in the NFL. Robert Griffin is a quarterback. It only takes one 3-game stretch for Lamar Jackson to get nicked up and for Robert Griffin III to average 180 yards per game. Over 3 games, if he averages 180 yards per game and maybe 47, 55 rushing yards per game, Robert Griffin is immediately back in business. He's back in the market. If people wanted Taysom Hill, if Robert Griffin could put together 3 games like that, him and Taysom Hill, they'll be right there as quarterbacks making money they're not supposed to make because they're quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are the one position where the CBA has seemed to completely ignore them. The franchise tag is $30 million for quarterbacks. Le'Veon Bell took a year off thinking he was going to prove a point and only came back for like 42. Dak Prescott, in 1 year of the franchise tag, and this is why I'm not upset necessarily at Dak Prescott asking for an absurd number, because hell, if you're going to franchise tag me, you might as well just give me a little bit more than 30. The problem is the Cowboys have offered a little bit more than 30 multiple times. They're up to 33. Dak Prescott can get franchise tagged this year, make $30 million. Say the Jacksonville Jaguars, 3 years down the road. Because you got Mahomes' contract that's going to come up, Dak Prescott that's going to get paid, and then I think Deshaun Watson has to get paid. Lamar Jackson is probably going to get paid by the time Minshew's fourth season finishes. So you got like 4 big name quarterbacks who are probably getting paid before the time Gardner Minshew does. And maybe throw Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray in there too. Because Baker Mayfield might not get huge money, but if the Cleveland Browns decide that he's the guy, then hey. And Kyler Murray, same thing. I'm a rookie of the year, 5 wins. Cardinals rookie franchise record. It's a good start. If the franchise tag is 30 now, and Russell Wilson making 35 is the highest salary right now, because remember, the franchise tag is the annual salary of, I think, like the top 5 or 10 in a given position group. So right now, the max is 35. Dak Prescott wants more than 33. The franchise tag of the averages right now is 30. So say you're a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. No, let me rephrase that. Say you're the fan base of a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Say you're the fan of a team that has a history of not wanting to pay people and a history of finding good players and letting them go and then turning around in like the same free agency and overpaying for the same position. Bro, you're really gonna pay Gardner Minshew or Kyler Murray or Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen or Tua, or you're really gonna pay some young quarterback that you still don't know about? You're still going to pay some young quarterback that you don't really know if you want to pay that much for, but you know that he probably is your best option, more than $30 million for 1 year? Austin Eckler just got quote unquote paid $24 million over 4 years. His contract like 4 years, $24 million or something like that. That's his second contract. That's the contract he got after playing on an undrafted free agent rookie contract out of a D2 school. Dak Prescott can make more than Austin Eckler's entire contract in one franchise tag. But Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Robert Griffin III are telling you to vote no on this CBA. Like, I don't know how many more centers and long snappers and backup linebackers and blocking tight ends I need to see on my timeline, basically pleading for you to not listen to the cornerbacks and not listen to the quarterbacks. Because the cornerbacks, if Josh Norman could have cashed in on that deal, if Josh Norman could have been worth the Redskins contract, cornerbacks would be going through the roof. Now, see, Jalen Ramsey might help out cornerbacks. Xavier Howard did, because I think Xavier Howard in Miami, I think he's still going to be making 15 with his contract. He got a big behind contract. But, you need him, you need Jalen Ramsey, and as far as lockdown, shutdown, and Trey White, Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore's a vet. He'll have to go to a different team, though, because New England doesn't pay people. Point is, you have guys in the corner market who might be able to help out the guys after. The guys in the quarterback market are set. Guys in the quarterback market are making European soccer money. So, Dallas, what's the point of all this? You've been talking about quarterbacks getting paid too much money for the past 30 minutes. You're saying that you're not upset that Dak Prescott is asking for more than $30 million, but your whole episode this week has been about how somebody like Dak Prescott is trying to get paid more than $30 million. Dallas, what's your point? Like, okay, we get it. The quarterbacks get paid way too much. Okay, we get it. The quarterbacks have way too much influence in their franchise and organization. Dallas, okay, we get it. You are scared that the Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to pay Gardner Minshew, even though they have paid Blake Bortles and Nick Foles. Because A, he is homegrown, and B, he is going to be too good and command too much money for your cheap ass little franchise. But Dallas, what is your point? My point is this. Well, sorry, I hit my 15-minute mark. I have to tell you my point after the commercial break. This is the Playmakers Blog Podcast, football. We're talking off-season stuff. We're going to pay some bills. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Playmakers Blog Podcast, Football Edition. We're back with the third and final segment of the week. What the hell is my point? After talking about all of these daggone quarterbacks and all the money they make, even though they are not winning Super Bowls most of the time after they get paid this money. My point is this. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Washington Redskins, how do you have a situation like the Yannick Ngakoue situation? How do you have a prospect like Chase Young? How do you have those two situations and you even think to yourself for a minute that getting more than a starting caliber will not lose you the game quarterback is your top priority? Because of the way that edge rushers have evolved in the NFL, the whole left tackle being a cornerstone and pillar of the Super Bowl recipe, that's pretty much out the window. A, because defensive coordinators literally figured out which peg the cylinder was supposed to go into and just moved their best pass rushers over the right tackle. Now, you need Lane Johnsons of the world. Shoot, the reason why people started putting a premium on right tackles is because Jason Peters wouldn't let go of the ghost. But Lane Johnson was too good to just literally have him wait because, he's a left tackle, not a right tackle. Now, Philadelphia Eagles are in a situation where Lane Johnson is still going to be the franchise right tackle, and they drafted Andre Dillard to be the new left tackle. Because right tackles are important now. Offensive tackles are important now. So the whole left tackle thing, that's kind of sort of gone by the wayside because you need a good offensive line now. Damn what position they play in college. What position are they good at in the NFL? You just need somebody who can block. Because the defensive tackles can pass rush. The nose tackles can pass rush. The defensive ends can pass rush. The jokers can pass rush. The edges can pass rush. Pass rushers. That being said, the age-old battle of get you a guy who could be half as good as Lawrence Taylor or get you a guy who could be half as good as Peyton Manning and Tom Brady is going to go on until the end of time. If you can't find a quarterback that is going to be generational and have you be a perennial playoff team / Super Bowl contender, then you got to find the guy that's going to raise hell and wreak havoc on the perennial playoff and Super Bowl contenders. I'll talk about the Redskins first because all this can just be smoke and mirrors. All this could literally just be like, we want it to seem like, because if it seems like we'll pick Tua, maybe we can get like a ridiculous ass offer for the second overall pick. And, if we lose Chase Young because the Detroit Lions or the New York Giants select Chase Young after we trade the second overall pick, then cool. Because that means that, at 5 or at 3 or at 4 or at even 7 or 6, Isaiah Simmons could be there. Derek Brown could be there. Jerry Jeudy could be there. I mean, you have Dwayne Haskins. If you trade the pick and don't pick Tua, or if you don't pick Tua in general, you still have Dwayne Haskins, who could use some weapons. You have McLaughlin. You have the receiver from last year, who was really, really good. And you have a running back situation where you're not going to address running back that early, but it will be okay if you get another deep threat, if you get another true weapon for Dwayne Haskins to throw to. So the Washington Redskins gaming that pick would make sense. The problem is, I don't necessarily think they're gaming the pick. Even though I don't think that the probability is as high as some in the media are making it seem, I still hope that the Redskins brass, the new regime, Ron Rivera, I hope he doesn't overthink this. I hope Ron Rivera doesn't pull the old, that quarterback was here before I got here. I hope he doesn't pull the old, Tua when healthy is a generational player. Dwayne Haskins is just going to be a good starting quarterback. Because, bro, defensive ends don't always hit. Defensive ends, they're not always what they're put out to be. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. However, defensive ends, the variance is more controllable. You got a guy who was a speed rusher in college, he's probably going to be a speed rusher in the NFL. Look at Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler plays on a defense with pieces, with weapons. He plays with the best pass rusher in the NFL. He has double-digit sacks in a contract year. Good for him. Dante Fowler was never bad. He was just never worth where he was picked at the time. However, if do-overs could be do-overs, and with the way the Yannick Ngakoue situation is right now, well, hell, I'm pretty sure a lot of Jaguars fans like to have Dante back. Especially considering because, you got Josh Allen. But Josh Allen is another good example. Josh Allen fell all the way to the 7th round, get turned around, double-digit sacks his rookie year, leads his team in sacks his rookie year, has the most sacks out of all rookies his rookie year. Josh Allen was touted to be the best pass rusher, a day one starter in the NFL. He became a day one starter and a top pass rusher his first year in the NFL. Chase Young is going to help that franchise immediately. Now, I don't know the win-loss control. It's not like basketball where you can get like a defensive force. It's not like you can get a Anthony Davis. It's not like if Nerlens Noel had been what he was supposed to be coming out of college. Just a pure defensive force that maybe develops kind of sort of like Dwight Howard did in Orlando. But, dude, Chase Young is generational from the defensive end position. Dwayne Haskins is going to be a good starter in the NFL. There have been a lot of good starting quarterbacks to make it to the Super Bowl. There have been a lot of good starting quarterbacks to elite backup quarterbacks to make it to conference championship games. Blake Bortles is not that far removed from being in an AFC championship game. Case Keenum is not that far removed from being in an NFC championship game. Nick Foles won a damn Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, he was up big in a Super Bowl. Josh Allen, he had that game in the bag if he didn't start freaking out and lateraling stuff from the 50-yard line. Likewise, Kirk Cousins, hey, he beat Drew Brees on the road in overtime. So, overdoing it for Tua seems like it would be a mistake because this thing that you need the generational quarterback, this thing that you'll be competing for Super Bowls year in and year out, the Patriots and Tom Brady wouldn't be as special as they are if it was as simple as you have an elite quarterback, you'll be in the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl conversation every single year. It's just not that simple. Peyton Manning only has 2. And he won 1 with 2 different teams. Lost 1 with 2 different teams. Tom Brady was with the same franchise for 20 years. He only won 6. I know I say only, and I say only with a lot of, respect and context. But when you play 20 plus seasons and only win the chip 6 times, it's less than 50%. But Tom Brady is easily the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't care about eras. I don't care about, Tom Brady never had a Jerry Rice. Likewise, the San Francisco 49ers had Joe Montana and Steve Young. There's no second quarterback. There's no successor with Tom Brady. Hell, Andrew Luck, if Andrew Luck could have played out his entire NFL lifespan, which technically he did, but if Andrew Luck could have played the entirety of what he was supposed to play, he would have got 1. And that's exactly as many as Peyton Manning brought to the city of Indianapolis. 1. Brad Johnson right now is the hero of Tampa Bay. Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco are the heroes of Baltimore, Maryland. You can try to find that quarterback in the draft, but at the same time, finding the Patrick Mahomes and the Tom Brady and the Peyton Manning and the Andrew Luck, that's just from day one going to make you competitive. And remember, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, but dude, just finding day one competitiveness year after year after year from drafting one position. Buy lottery tickets. Start an LLC. Get a business loan. And buy lottery tickets. Because that's basically what you're saying from a team building aspect when you say we're just going to keep going until we find a quarterback. We're going to pass over the Chase Youngs and the Josh Allens and the Yannick Ngakwe's of the world because we either messed up and overpaid a quarterback, or we think that if healthy, this quarterback can be way better than the quarterback we already have. The Arizona Cardinals fired the head coach, traded Josh Rosen after 1 season. What did it get him, guys? 5 wins. So the Washington Redskins, I'm not necessarily, I don't see a lot of stock in that because Ron Rivera is a defensive coach. Ron Rivera is a hard-nosed traditional guy. I just don't see Ron Rivera making that mistake. Not after having Cam Newton as a franchise quarterback. So that transitions to the Jaguars. Because, every time that I do a podcast by myself, I have to figure out how to bag on the Jaguars. Yannick Ngakwe was the only real free agent this offseason. Everybody else is expendable. Everybody else, they can go. You can address the other ones that are leaving the Jaguars via free agency this season in the draft, in the later rounds. You have 10 picks this draft. You can address tight end. You can address D-tackle. You can address, I think, one of the linebackers is leaving. You can address all that. You traded away AJ Boye, so you're going corner with one of the first 3 picks you have. Either the first or the second first or the first or the second. Either way, you're going to get a top cornerback. Maybe even a coup at 9 if it slips. But Yannick Ngakwe, he's proven. He's valued. He's treasured. He's wanted. You really had one job. You want to pay Miles Jack to prove a point. You want to have the super dramatic exit with Jalen Ramsey. You want to have the debacle that is Nick Foles. You want to have the midseason debacle that is this kid might have something, but we paid Nick Foles and we can't trade him if he looks like damaged goods, so we need to put out some good film and save our jobs. Jobs get saved anyway. You had one job. You did it really. The one job that every NFL GM has is to either find a generational quarterback or a generational pass rusher. Because if you have a generational pass rusher, you can build the defense around him. Because if that generational pass rusher can end up being a 14-plus sack year guy, you're going to win a lot of games that you're not supposed to win. Because your defense is going to be that good. Yannick Ngakwe, right now, is an 8 to 9 sack per year guy. They say they want him to be more balanced against the run. Well, I mean, come on, bro. That comes with time. That comes with want to. The entire run defense was bad. But when you have a defensive end like Yannick Ngakoue, speed rusher who's young and is only going to get better, what you're basically saying is, we may have found the guy, but we're going to let him go. Now, when you say you're going to let Yannick Ngakoue go, you're saying one of two things. Either Gardner Minshew is going to be that good, or Josh Allen's going to be that good. Either Gardner Minshew is going to be that good because he won 6 games with the same roster that Nick Foles had, and down the road, you're going to be ready to pay $40+ million if Gardner Minshew gets you to the playoffs once or twice. Or Josh Allen, who had 10.5 sacks this year, without even starting, mind you. Josh Allen was not a starter and had 10.5 sacks. So you're saying he had 10.5 sacks not even as a starter. We're going to get the best picks we can for Yannick Ngakoue. And down the road, after the 5th-year option and all that good stuff, we're going to pay Josh Allen around 120. What you're basically saying is we're going to pay Josh Allen 4 years. Well, actually, no, that's impossible. 120 over 4 years. It's got to be like 5 or 6. But the point is, what you're basically saying is we will pay Josh Allen defensive end money. Or we will pay Gardner Minshew quarterback money. Because as a Jaguars fan, I refuse to believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to simultaneously pay Josh Allen defensive end money and Gardner Minshew quarterback money. There will be some kind of excuse. Cap. Value. What has he done? Blah. Viability. London. Parking lot. Utility company scandals. There will be some kind of excuse. But if you don't watch the Redskins or the Jacksonville Jaguars, hell, if you're the Buffalo Bills and you're going to have the Ed Oliver and Josh Allen situations, okay, you find an elite defensive lineman. Cool. You find a starting quarterback that might get you to the playoffs and be that X factor. Great. But Dak Prescott gets paid $35 million. Are you going to pay Gardner Minshew, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen 29? 30? Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins have 27 and 28. Matt Stafford has like 27. Derek Carr has like 25. Jameis Winston wants 30. Or are you going to pay an Ed Oliver, a Josh Allen, a Yannick Ngakoue anywhere between 19 to 23? You're not going to win the Super Bowl every year no matter who your quarterback is. But if it's a matter of staying competitive, if it's a matter of one side of your ball being elite, if it's a matter of finding a generational prospect every other draft and then being able to sign him, retain him, and keep him, dude, it's always going to be easier to find and pay a defensive end. The bittersweet thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars situation is Calais Campbell is going to get like $17 million this year. He's been to the Pro Bowl for 3 straight years. 2017, he was a Defensive Player of the Year and an All-Pro. Josh Allen, not even starting, 10.5 sacks. So while it sucks that the Jaguars aren't going to be able to re-sign Yannick Ngakoue long term, you have to look at the other 2 defensive ends on the roster. And then you also have to look at Dwayne Smoot, who only developed out of nowhere and had 4 sacks on his own. The Jacksonville Jaguars, if there's one thing Tom Coughlin did, it was his platoon defensive line philosophy, where you just have waves of pass rushers coming in. If there's one thing Tom Coughlin was able to do right, it was that. He got a 3-time Pro Bowler in a Jaguars uniform, and a guy at 10.5 sacks his rookie year not even starting. You're not in bad shape. That being said, Calais Campbell's already paid. Right now, I haven't heard anything as far as trade or restructuring or cap casualty for Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell also got voted to the NFLPA Players Leadership Board. So, dude, you have elite defensive end talent if you're the Jaguars. If you're Buffalo, God, that defensive line in Buffalo is ridiculous. If you're Los Angeles, you got Aaron Donald. Dante Fowler might not be that hard to bring back. You still have a draft because you're going to be picking in the second round. You're going to be thinking best available players in the second round when the Los Angeles Rams are picking are probably going to be defensive linemen. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, and Jared Goff have set up a very, very, very dangerous trend for the future. Yannick Ngakoue not getting $22 million from the team that drafted him. That's weird to me because Yannick Ngakoue is a defensive end that's going to get paid. And Yannick Ngakoue is probably going to produce for the team that he gets paid by. Defensive end and maybe cornerback are the only two positions where it's like, yeah, they're probably going to be able to do the same thing on a different team. Defensive tackle, maybe. You look at the Sue situation, I don't know. Look at the Warren Sapp situation, even though he was older when he got to Oakland, but I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a dangerous trend. It's a dangerous trend when a guy who his biggest accomplishment is beating Russell Wilson when he didn't have a kicker. That's what happened. Dak Prescott beat Russell Wilson one-on-one straight up. This is true. But Russell Wilson didn't have a kicker. He lost his kicker in the middle of a playoff game. I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope Chase Young goes number 2 to the Washington Redskins because even though I'm not a Redskins fan, even though I could care less what happens to the Washington Redskins, for the sake of the NFL, for the sake of the players who the CBA is going to help the most, I just really hope that the quarterbacks don't basically keep benefiting and going the way that they are because the quarterback is just that one guy that you always talk to at work or that one guy at church or whoever you talk to where it's just like you just hear their perspectives on things and you're just like, it must be nice. It must be nice. That's all the time we got this week. Follow us on the socials at Playmakers on Twitter, Playmakers blog on Facebook, all that good stuff. Darnell has all the polls, all the contests, all the basketball talk, anything you need to know, any swag, any merch, all that good stuff. Just hit us up on the socials and we'll get back to you. I had fun. It's a dead week. We gotta make do how we make do. Make some chops so we had enough. Y'all have a great weekend, everybody.